You're listening to the Unshamed podcast. We talk about important topics that are culturally taboo when it comes to the female body, mind, and soul. We want to break down shame that surrounds these topics so that women can be empowered in their everyday lives. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this with your friends. Hey guys, welcome to the Unshamed podcast. Another sunny, lovely day in Ireland today. Which is not super common, but I'm absolutely loving it. Being able to sit out here and talk about all kinds of cool things. Today, we're going to be talking about what I call the sin of being an inconvenience. More on that in a minute. Okay, so I have kind of a long story, but I promise, it has a point. I promise. Just hang on with me, go on the journey, and all that. So I have a question for you. Ready? Have you ever felt like you wanted to avoid causing a fuss or, being a bother, being an inconvenience, that kind of thing? If you have, you might love this episode. Okay, so Irish people. Has anybody seen the Aldi ad? I guess I can say that word here. This is not an ad for Aldi, by the way. This is not a promotion or anything. It's just I saw an ad, and it's on YouTube. Actually, you can look it up. It was actually a really great campaign on their part to sell Irish products, and so the tagline for each of the commercials was "It's as Irish as." So there was one that was as Irish as not being able to take a compliment. So two girls were talking to each other, and one of them was like, "I love your dress." The other one was like, "Oh, it's terrible. Are you kidding me? This is the worst dress ever. I looked at state in this dress," etc. And then there was another one as Irish as not wanting to be the first one to hang up. And so this lady was on the phone and just kept going, ba 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 ba, over and over. Exaggerated, but yeah, you know the feeling, you just say bye multiple times, and that's just how it is. But there was one called as Irish as not wanting to cause a fuss. And this was the scene where you have this barbecue going on in somebody's garden, and poor Des is at the end of the table, and it's just getting covered in smoke. The barbecue pit is over here, and he's the only one at the table who's just covered in smoke and trying to eat and everything. And everybody's like, "Are you okay? You sure, Des? We can all get up and move over." He's like, "Stay where you are. I'm totally fine." She's like, "Are you crying? Or is your eyes watering?" He's like, "Well, I was crying earlier." He would rather admit that he was sobbing earlier than admit that he needed a little extra help, that kind of thing. So the end is it's as Irish as not wanting to cause a fuss. So I was laughing because I'm like, that's true. I kind of have felt like that a little bit more since moving here. I just feel like they nailed it in that ad. Every culture has their weird quirks. I noticed so many American quirks after living here, like our giant trucks and stuff, and how, this is funny, I think Americans use overly complicated words for things. We call things like vehicle or there was I can't think of them right now, but we have so many weird things that we do, we overcomplicate things, I think. But that's just one random quirk. But again, every place has their quirks. One of the Irish quirks is what was happening in the ad, where if you go to a restaurant and somebody gives you a hamburger instead of a cheeseburger, you will feel so bad about asking the waitress to change your order and stuff, just because that's how it is. You don't want to cause a fuss. You don't want to be an inconvenience, all that. So yeah, I've kind of absorbed that cultural habit myself. Like so many things, just like the positive ones. I now recycle everything. I'm convinced that Irish dairy is the most superior dairy on earth. I get really indignant when my American friends, I love you guys, when you cut your scones into triangles. Don't get me started. Anyway, so I've absorbed this, and I fear causing a fuss. It's weird. So this episode is about that. But think about it. We can feel this kind of on a minor scale. I mean, a cheeseburger in a restaurant's not a big deal. But what if you're in a situation that's way more serious and you kind of require a bit more fuss than just your food in a restaurant, So here's my story from like a few weeks ago. Let's journey back a little bit. So I was having a really good day. Background, okay. Zoe Community, we train volunteers to listen to women in crisis pregnancy. Specifically, we market to women who would prefer to explore options other than termination. Then we stay with them and help them as long as they want to explore their resources, listen, anything they need. We're there. So the first training was rapidly approaching. It was actually this past Sunday, as today I'm recording. It was, this past Saturday. And I was pumped. I was excited. And as I was on my way, because we had put together boxes for the volunteers because of COVID, like we couldn't meet together. So we figured the volunteers need swag and treats and stuff. So we're just going to mail it to them. So we felt excited about that. And I thought, okay, routine trip to the post office. I had 11 boxes, in various containers, bringing them with me. I just thought this will be a fun little trip to post everything. So I'm not like an entrepreneur or like a boss or something. I don't post boxes all the time. I rarely do that. So I didn't know that people who mail a bunch of boxes here, they typically pre-print their labels first. So that explains like the face of the lady behind the desk at the post office. She looked at me and she was like, "Did you pre-purchase labels?" And I was like, "No, should I have?" And she was like, and I was like, "Oh Lord." And she goes, "Yeah, most people do." And then just gave me this weirdly, like begrudgingly, just kind of, "Are you kidding me?" look. It was really, it just felt so weird. And then she started like acting like, "Oh, this is the worst job in the world." Weighing each box was such a chore, was such an annoying, it was just being a pain in the butt. And then she, like, when I walked in, the post office was empty, okay? And while she was slaving away, like somebody in a sweatshop, the queue started to build behind me. And then she had to call in a reinforcement. Actually, I was causing all kinds of trouble. And then she looked at me and she laughed and pointed behind me to let me know about the queue that was building up because of me. So finally done. All the boxes were finished. I was mortified. As I left, I passed the queue, which at that point was out the door and down the path. I was pretty sure that like I didn't make eye contact with anybody. I was sure that everybody in the village at that point wanted to just kill me. So I walked along, and it wasn't until a little while later that it kind of dawned on me. I felt so much guilt and shame because of what went on, because I didn't know what to do. I just wasn't in the know. And I showed up and caused an inconvenience and a fuss and all this stuff. But I felt a microscopic bit of what women in crisis pregnancy go through like all the time. So try to put yourself in their place. A woman finds out she's pregnant, she's in college or just starting her career, and is single, or has 3 kids already, or she's in an abusive relationship, or she's having all these things, many of these things, and she might not want to get a termination. Women have many reasons for why they might not want to have termination as an option. But what's left? She has to summon the courage to tell others, and then inevitably be seen as an inconvenience on a massive scale. The sin of being an inconvenience is, Blake was joking with me, it's one of the worst ones you can commit. Blake used to be the guy when we go to restaurants in the USA, if the food wasn't like up to standard, he calmly would explain the situation, and usually we'd end up getting free food because he was really good at talking to the manager and stuff. But it's changed now that since we moved here, he's not the guy who has to speak to the manager anymore because, we've learned some of the cultural stuff. So, so back to the women who are in the situation, who actually do have these crises in their lives, and it would be great if they weren't treated like absolute garbage. So what do we do for women to encourage them that if they want to choose a path that will inevitably be inconveniencing others in her community, what do we do to encourage her that she herself, in her human form, she's not an inconvenience? As a person, she's not an inconvenience. I think we need to welcome the inconvenience like from the off, like from the first go, and mean it sincerely. Like so many people go, yeah, sure, like you can come, anything you need, I'll be there, and they're not sincere about it. We need to actually be sincere. So make sure that before you say something, you're sincere about it. You mean it. This is going to be, get ready for it. More work than we're used to. Yay! It means that we follow through on the welcome with genuine hospitality. Because you know what? Here's a little secret. We could all be in the same situation. We could all be there. And also because any woman who has an unplanned pregnancy but doesn't want to choose termination shouldn't feel pressure to do that. I mean, because that would be kind of anti-feminist, This applies to a ton of different things, not just crisis pregnancy, people going through an eating disorder or depression or addiction or divorce. Those people might have the courage to come forward if they know that we won't just sigh and act like it's the end of the world, that we have to help them. So I want to hear from you guys. What are some practical ways that we can say, I don't see you as an inconvenience to the women around us? Please send us a comment or shoot us an email at unshamed@zoecommunity.ie, and I'll put a link to that email address below. If you want to hear more about this stuff, if you like hearing about these topics, and or if you have a suggestion for a guest to come on the show, we'd always appreciate that. Let us know, and also click like and subscribe, because we need the likes and subscribes. It's great to know that more people are out there, more people listen and feel encouraged by this. So until next time, which will probably have some super exciting episode on shame, birth control, pregnancy, any kind of topic, you name it, continue living unshamed. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Unshamed podcast. Join us next time for another topic that we hope empowers you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with your friends.